I'm waiting, Miss Moran. I think that you came here with the intention of assuming a false identity in order to observe me. Why?
I came here with no such intention. It simply happened.
And simply continued to happen day after day until I found you out.
If I planned to deceive you, I wouldn't have risked writing that cheque and signing it with my real name.
You signed it with your real name because you didn't want to be accused of writing a dud cheque.
I didn't plan anything carefully from start to finish.
Oh? Didn't you plan to get Paul Ross, or was it Richard Lord, to propose you to me as a temporary member of the casino?
That had nothing to do with me. Well, didn't you see me at the casino last night? It was embarrassing. I don't even know the rules for roulette.
I find that very difficult to believe, Miss Moran.
Well, I've been faced with difficult things to believe too, Mrs. Hamilton.
I see. So we're there now, are we? Why the masquerade? Do you question the coroner's findings?
Many people do.
Well, let's just stick with you.
Very well. I don't know what to think about those findings, where you are concerned.
And who has assisted you most in making up your mind about me? Paul Ross or Richard Lord? But you think I killed your father? I realise what a terrible shock his death must have been to you. But why on earth didn't you come to me straight away as his daughter?
You answered that question yourself, Mrs. Hamilton, when you asked whether I thought you killed my father.
Wait.
No. I'm not the only person who's shown two faces. When my father spoke of you, he painted two women. One was warm and kind, and the other was cold and cruel. Thank you for showing me the real Mrs. Hamilton. I now know why my father hated her.
Who did you see?
Dr. Manning. I can talk to her. See, she's the one who sent me to the fertility clinic in the first place. She knows all about my case.
Was she encouraging?
Well, she didn't commit herself. She didn't promise anything. Not up to her, really. But she did say that the whole scheme was meant for women like me. And, well, you know, I had as much a chance as anybody else. So, I asked her to make me an appointment.
Did you tell her Kevin was against the idea?
Oh, no. If she'd known that, it would have been it. You have to have the husband's consent, you see, before you're even considered.
Glenda, you are asking for trouble.
No, he'll come round. He just doesn't understand how much it means to me yet. He's too full of buying this house.
Well, that's another thing. How are you going to be able to afford it if you're buying a house? I mean, you'll have to have time off work. I've heard this costs about 2,000 quid.
No, not always, you see. They've got this scheme in Birmingham now. Instead of staying in the clinic all the time you're having the tests, you know, you can be an outpatient. They've even got self-catering flats you can rent close by the hospital. It works out so much cheaper.
Yes, but even so, it'll cost you. Kevin's going to have time off work, isn't he?
Yeah, but not very much. Only at the beginning, when they do the semen test, and then later on when they actually do the laparoscopy.
What's that?
Well, that's when they take the egg from me and fertilise it.
Oh, you must want this baby a hell of a lot.
I do. I don't care how much it costs or how long it takes.
And the question is, how are you going to get Kevin to feel the same way?
I don't know. But he's got to, if he loves me. It's our baby I want. I don't know what I'm going to do, really.
Glenda, why is he against the idea, do you know? I mean, is it worrying about you or is it worrying about the money?
Oh, I think it's this macho thing, you know. He thinks it's a slur on his manhood.
You're not serious.
Oh, I am. He'd kill me if I knew I was telling you, but it's true. He thinks, you know, that he doesn't want anybody else concerned. A baby should be just him and me. Then there's the embarrassment of going to the clinic. He hated that last time.
They just never grow up, do they?
It's just such a small price to pay. Why can't he see that? If it actually works and we can have our own baby.
Well, Glenda, I do wish you luck. You deserve it. I'll tell you what, you can put me down as godmum.
If you add breakfast to this, I'll give you a cheque for the whole thing before I leave.
Okay. Yes, of course.
Good morning, Mr. Ross.
Good morning.
Also, I'd like a hired car, self-drive. Could you arrange that for about 10 o'clock?
Gail will arrange anything you wish with the utmost efficiency, I'm sure, Miss Marshall. But if you want to flip about seeing the sights, why not let me be your guide?
I'm not going very far, only to the nearest decent hotel. Have you one you could recommend? I've heard Fairlawn's mentioned.
I think you would be much more comfortable remaining here, Miss Marshall.
Miss who? Might I remind you, Mr. Ross, I'm Miss Moran. Miss Marshall checked out of here last night. In fact, last night, Miss Marshall was lucky not to have been thrown out of here on a foolish young ear.
Why foolish?
That girl listened to a lot of very bad advice from a couple of very shifty characters. Over here. I wouldn't want the receptionist to hear you recommending a competitor. Mrs. Hamilton knows.
She knows who you really are.
More. She knows what you really are. And Richard Lord. A pair of the aforesaid shifty characters.
Yes, well, I can see now that you cannot remain here without considerable embarrassment.
Fairlands.
I will speak to their manager and see that you're well looked after. But for how long?
I'm not sure. I've not had a solicitor all of my own before. I'm going to look for a local one. All I want him to do is to help me get one look at the will and settle everything as quickly as possible. And then I never want to hear about it, Mrs. Hamilton, Richard Lord, or you ever again. I can't wait to resume my job abroad. And the farther away, the better. Shake and have done.
I never shake hands unless I say hello or goodbye. See you soon, someday, I hope.
Morning, Miss Marshall. Looks like rain.
Oh, the mail seems to be full of things you know more about than I do. I said the mail is full of
Yes,
things...
I heard. I'm not deaf like Miss Marshall.
What?
I just said a perfectly pleasant good morning to her and she looked right through me.
Because she's not Miss Marshall. You should have called her Miss Moran. Yes, she's Tony's daughter.
That's incredible.
Oh, you mustn't judge her too hastily. She's under a lot of strain from her father's death.
Well, obviously she signed in under a false name to spy on you.
I think she's been influenced by two older men.
Paul Ross, Richard Lloyd.
I can't prove it.
No, well, I'm not having her stay here. I tell her to go.
No, David, you won't. She has a cool nerve. And also, she's on the other side of a considerable generation gap. Before you know it, you'll find yourself in a nasty scene. No, I'll do it. With tact. And no scene at all.
Thank you, Barbara.
Yeah, kid, a list of the spares we need. I've ticked off the urgent ones.
I've just heard from Reg Lamont.
Was it a good ear or a bad ear?
Stick around and decide for yourself. Put me through to Mr. Hunter, would you please?
Hello?
Mr. Hunter, it's Sharon. Look, Reg Lamont, he's on his way back from the Far East. He won't be here long, but he'll have time to settle the garage deal with you.
Well, I trust you've filled him in on negotiations to date.
Assuming you've taken me completely into your confidence all along, yeah?
Well, I simply hope you've told him that Pollard now wants an outright sale, not a merger.
What do you want?
Well, assuming that you and Lamont will take me into your confidence when he returns, I shan't know till then, shall I?
I'd like to spend all morning shadow boxing with you, Mr. Hunter, but I have some urgent mechanical components to order. Now, was that a good hear or a bad hear?
I only heard half of it.
It all boils down to one thing. If J. Henry Pollard buys this garage, we could all be out of a job, and me first. Oh.
Good morning, Miss Moran.
Morning, Mrs. Hunter. I'm glad to hear Mrs. Hamilton's told you.
But told me about what exactly? I really don't know, you see.
Well, whatever Mrs. Hamilton will tell you is true. And please tell her I'm sorry. I was rather silly with her last night. She's every right to be disgusted with me. However, I'm not a professional cheat. So please spare me from confessing to everyone.
Whatever it's about. May I sit down? I'll come straight to the point. You came here under a false name, and the staff...
Well, actually, that's not true. I came here under my real name. The false one sort of pounced on me.
Well, the staff know you under that false name.
Yes, I can see it must be very confusing for the staff to find out that I'm not who I was.
I wasn't referring to the staff, actually.
I thought you did.
I was about... I was going to say that you could be embarrassed.
Embarrassed to be looked down upon by the staff, let alone you and your husband, everyone, even Paul Ross. To be found out as a phony who should have known better.
Wouldn't you find it less embarrassing to stay somewhere else?
Mrs. Hunter, I've been pushed around by two strange men ever since I came here. I'm not going to be pushed around by strange women, too. I like it here. I don't know the rules about these places. Perhaps you can call the police. Ask them to make me leave. But if you do, I shall tell them exactly why I want to stay here. Every scrap of evidence I've collected about Mrs. Hamilton.
Well, all I can say is I hope you change your mind, Miss Moran. And I hope you don't run into my husband. He's furious.
May ever go spare, that's the trouble.
What about?
Me working overtime. I don't understand women. Ask her the question, she'll tell you she hates the sight of me, right? I work 3 nights, she says she's being neglected.
The way I look at it, mate, you gotta take any overtime's going. Because you never know.
Never know what?
How long this job's gonna last.
Oh, well, go on, laugh and be happy, go on.
No, I'm dead serious. Lamont's coming back, he's gonna sell out. You could all end up on the scrap heap. Oh,
Rubbish.
new broom. I've seen how it sweeps.
Listen, mate, if they put anyone new in here, they'll have the unions down on them, right? That J. Henry Pollard, no matter how big he is, they'll cut him down to size.
If there's still a garage.
What?
Well, he might decide to knock the whole lot down. He can do that if he owns it.
You off?
Yeah, me and Nobby, we've got the car ready for painting and we start it in the morning.
Good, good.
Miss Sharon,
Yeah?
how much do a garage cost?
Why, do you want one?
Well, mate,
What do you want about?
them two in there, they were saying about losing the jobs, redundancy and that.
Redundancy, Benny. Oh, God, they're not still on about that, are they?
Well, ain't they?
I shouldn't think so for a minute, no.
But it ain't certain, is it?
Nothing's certain in this world, Benny.
Yeah, but if I do buy it, then it would be certain, wouldn't it?
Buy it.
With me money?
Benny, you can't do that.
Well, it'd be vesting. But, you know, vesting, putting your money in stuff.
Yes, but it's not enough.
Ain't.
Not nearly.
Well, everybody says what a lot I got.
For you as a person, yes, it is a lot. But for businesses, they're just a little bit different. A place like this would want much, much, much more.
Oh.
So don't you go worrying about them, eh? They'll be all right. I'll see to that.
Fancy seeing me here.
Yes, fancy. Yes, it's you.
Don't do that. The next time you want to know it's me, just ask. In other words, don't touch.
I was thinking of coming over to Fairlawns for a drink with you tonight.
If that's your way of asking whether I checked out this morning, no, I didn't.
What caused you to change your mind?
I was asked to check out. They made a mistake, Paul. They caused me to believe that you and Richard just might have been right all along. You see, if they...
They? Who's they?
All of them. Kate Hamilton, David Hunter. Richard told you how they used to share a cottage together. Of course he did. Anyway, now even Barbara Hunter. I never thought she'd be an accomplice. But they ganged together, and this morning they sent her to ask me to leave. I was having breakfast. Now, if they hadn't done that, they wouldn't have had anything to hide, would they?
Well, it could have been a simple matter of a misunderstanding.
Nothing simple in this place, Paul. I don't know how you stand it.
Hello. You planning a moonlight flit?
Chance would be a fine thing.
What are you doing?
Well, I tried to put a clean nightie in my middle drawer and it was that stuff full of rubbish. I thought, what for, I asked myself. I mean, I'm not going to be seen dead in this again.
Oh, I don't know.
You know, I used to fancy myself in that once. I was about the only one who did.
Well, don't you go throwing things out without my say-so.
Oh, yeah.
I might be thankful.
When you've lost a couple of stone.
Starvation could see to that.
What are you on about?
Well, rumour has it at the garage that we're all going to be out on our ear and on the bread line.
Oh, no, they're not still banging on about that, aren't they?
Well, with Reg Lamont on his way back, it started it all up again. Sid and Mac, they won't talk about anything else. Now they got Benny going. Oh, poor lad. He wanted to know if he could buy us out.
He did what?
It's all right. I put him straight. Anyhow, it's all your fault. Telling him that 25 grand is half the money in the world. Hey, that's not bad. What do you think?
You could fill that about 12 times over.
It'll stretch.
You'll get offers.
That's decided it. It's mine. Thank you.
Do you think that Mac and Sid could be right?
Ah, no.
Are you sure?
Well, there are a hell of a lot of ifs. If Reg Lamont sells, if J. Henry buys, and always assuming he can talk David Hunter out of his promise about keeping me in charge, they could be right and I could be wrong. And we could all be out in our ear. Yeah.
So there is a chance, then?
Well, who knows in that sort of ball game? I mean, J. Henry might buy the place, knock the whole lot down and develop.
Would he do that?
That's a thought. It's a very reasonable thought. I mean, whatever he wants the place for, it's not to keep it just as it is. He's the sort of man who's after leverage. He's also after me.
Well, do you want to walk past him in that?
After my blood, darling. He would dearly love to get shot of me, the idiot.
Well, listen. It could solve a problem.
Enlighten me, oh wise one.
Right. If Ashley's going to get posted, there's nothing for you to stay here for, so you could go with him, couldn't you?
I would dearly love to want that, but I don't know. It smacks of giving up on things, and I don't know if I'm ready to. I don't know if I'm ever going to be ready to. That's what terrifies me.
What's the alternative?
Starvation?
I tell you what.
What?
If you ever get into that, I will have a whip round and buy you a square meal.
You're on.
Okay.
Hello? No, I'm afraid she's not in at the moment. Well, I'm her husband. Can I help? What appointment? No, I think there's been some mistake. Yes, I am sure. Cancel it, would you? Yes, that's what I said. Cancel it. We won't be coming.
Kevin, I was going to tell you.
That was the clinic.
Yes.
About an appointment you made for me.
Both of us.
And you forgot to mention it. You out of your mind?
It was just for a talk.
You're living in a dream world, making appointments behind me back. You knew I wouldn't go. What are you going to do when I didn't turn up, eh?
I know. I just have to keep trying.
No, you don't. Because I've had enough.
Kevin, I didn't want you to find out like this.
Oh, I bet you didn't. Just your bad luck happened to pick up that phone. Well, that's it, love. You pull one more stroke like that and I'm leaving.
You don't mean that.
Try me.